While everyone knows scientific genius Albert Einstein and social reform legend Mahatma Gandhi, very few people know the influential Indian genius who was a friend to them both. Rabindranath Tagore, born in 1861, was the first Asian to win the Nobel Prize for Literature. A true polymath and universal man, some historians describe him as the Goethe of India. Educated in India and Europe, the Bard of Bengal was a successful novelist, dramatist, essayist, poet, teacher, painter and musician, writing both words and music for 2,000 songs. He also founded a school which developed into a progressive university, wrote the national anthems of both India and Bangladesh, and pioneered international empathy and synthesis. Tagore was also spiritually syncretistic, blending Hinduism, Buddhism, and Western religions into his own faith, the deity of life, which sees flashes of the divine in nature and people. He befriended Einstein while on a global speaking tour and was close to Gandhi, but counseled the Indian activist to go beyond nationalism and promote East-West integration. Tagore brought together elements of India's rich 3,000-year-old literary traditions and two Western writing forms, realism and the emerging new populist genre of the short story. Of course, short stories are as old as literature itself. Examples of them date back to Ruth and Jonah in the Old Testament and ancient Indian and Middle Eastern collections we've already surveyed. But in the late 19th century, the genre was being reinvented. Historically, short stories were mini-novels that concentrated on plot, with usually a moral or lesson thrown in, but turn-of-the-century realist experimentation internalized them. Western audiences thus came to experience a new kind of short storytelling, lighter on plot, but richly layered in exploring main characters' psychology, emotions, and secret thoughts. In her groundbreaking essay, Modern Fiction, Virginia Woolf praised Anton Chekhov as the writer who'd made short stories spiritual, as opposed to focused mainly on external life. As the 19th century gave way to the 20th, political, technological, and economic exchanges, and more printed translations, saw influences flow freely between countries and cultures. This meant that authors of all nations and backgrounds could at last inspire each other and create endless fusions of their own heritage with whatever new foreign styles they admired. During his own East-West education, Rabindranath Tagore discovered the realist writings of Ibsen, Turgenev, Chekhov and Shaw, and deconstructed their progressive techniques. He then seamlessly combined the invisible author approach of Chekhov and the social exposé topicality of Ibsen with his own approaches to individual and social improvement. As a result, some of his most profoundly powerful works attacked India's patriarchal society and the ancient cultural brainwashing that had long sustained the oppression of women. Tagore's vast rich body of work includes flute music and The Hungry Stones, which offer ethereal and spiritual elements. But here we'll concentrate on one of his famous social realism stories. While unmasking contemporary problems in Indian villages, this 1893 tale showcases his work's powerful psychological style. Its title, Punishment, may be a nod to Dostoevsky. In Punishment, Chidam, a working-class villager, accuses his wife of killing her sister-in-law, a stabbing murder actually committed by the woman's husband, who is Chidam's brother. Chidam, following a wild family argument, reflexively blames Chandara, his wife, based on his social programming as a man, even though he both loves her and knows she is innocent. Indoctrinated from childhood with parochialisms like, a wife is easy to replace, a brother not so, he chooses, in a bizarre instinctual reaction, the old ways over both love and truth. Prior to his fatal blurting, partly triggered by their landlord's untimely arrival, Chidam and Chandara had been a loving couple, though under social pressure, due to their childlessness. The story's fascinating twist is that Chandara is left so indignant at this false accusation and cruel betrayal by the man she loves. She decides to refuse to defend herself even in court. Throughout the trial, she insists that she is guilty, even when both brothers break down and stun the court by each trying to confess to the murder, in a desperate bid to save her life. Finally, just before her execution, when granted a last meeting with one family member of her choice, Chandara refuses to see her husband, receiving instead her heartbroken mother. So finally, the title of the story proves ironic, in that it not only refers to Chandara's death by hanging, but to her punishment of her husband, for valuing his brother's life over hers. This ancient, reflexive way of thinking is very traditionally Indian, traceable right back to an incident in the Mahabharata. Against its millennial weight, Chandara can pit only her life. Punishment eloquently nails a fundamental problem Indian women faced. As a lower-class protagonist, it is only through her marriage that Chandara can wield any kind of power, by making the one unthinkable choice whose angry statement cannot be silenced. Tagore's story, told mostly from Chandara's point of view, examines the psychology of this extreme situation, and how deeply internalized societal norms can produce insane results. It's ultimately the tale of a remarkable, convention-defying woman, like Bronte's Catherine Earnshaw, or Ibsen's Nora Elmer, a lady willing to sacrifice or even die to make a vital point. Rabindranath Tagore's eclectic creativity and formidable intellect rightly won him the 1930 Nobel Prize for Literature, and arguably his courageous realist writing contributed as much to positive social change in India as the activism of his close friend Mahatma Gandhi. If you happen to know any of Tagore's musical works, stories, poetry, or philosophical sayings, please share your recommendations in the comments section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to meet more unique icons of world literature. As Rabindranath Tagore was both genuine polymath and literary icon, inevitably he was compared with Europe's earlier universal man, whose remarkable life and famously diabolical masterwork waits in episode 24.